I want to talk about another journey to an impossible place, what seemed like an impossible place, which was fatherhood and marriage in some way, because your lovely wife, Anya, sound like a 70s TV presenter, but she is lovely and she is your wife. I get the sense, and you acknowledge this in your book, that this was something you were shilly-shallying a bit.
Shilly-shallying. That's a phrase you don't hear a lot of, isn't it? Possibly a reason for that. Go on.
But I felt you had to be gently reminded by friends just what you were in danger of missing out on. Perhaps.
With her?
Yeah.
I've had to be reminded by loads of friends loads of times about what I should be doing. I mean, for all my failings, I do take advice. And I wish more of it was offered, quite frankly, because I've often benefited. Yeah, I mean, that isn't, I mean, I got married. I'd fallen in love. I was in a relationship. It's a very normal thing to do. But I didn't think it would be possible. I didn't think it was going to happen to me. I didn't believe that I could hold down a relationship. I would find somebody. Yeah, I think it is helpful for us to recognize how special life is when it goes our way. And I think, I mean, maybe I should have put that a bit more, but I think that underpins or underlies what I was trying to say about the impossibility of the relationship. I never thought I would find somebody like her. I had some really tricky relationships. I was a bit hopeless in love, and I thought I was never going to find the right person, or anyone who would put up with me and I would be able to love as well, frankly. And I do count my blessings, I do. And I think remembering the ludicrousness, the impossibility, if you like, of these journeys helps me to recognize how special it all is. Now, I don't ever want to be in this, maybe it's a weird analogy, but I don't ever want to not think it's wonderful when I turn the tap on and fresh water comes out. I want to go, oh, that's great, isn't it? I want to feel that, because I know the reality for billions of people on this planet is that they don't necessarily always have that luxury. And for our ancestors, for the hundreds and thousands of generations who've gone before us, we are the luckiest people who have ever existed, the luckiest human beings ever. And that is why it's such a tragedy if we screw it up and we don't make our existence into the distance viable and possible. So, yeah, I'm taking giant leaps then from shilly-shallying around and being lucky in a relationship. But it's all connected for me. I was surprised. I'm very grateful.
I also thought it was actually really important that I'm sure that's not why you wrote it, but I think the end result is that I think it will be really helpful to people, because you're really honest about just your fertility journey as well, because you had issues in that area, didn't you? And I think, but it's good that you've talked about it so openly.
I did have issues.
It's up to you to say it.
In that area.
You can say it, I can't.
I'm all right with saying it.
Okay.
I mean, these poor folk, they don't know what they've let themselves in for, so I've got to be a bit careful that nobody passes out in horror or anything.
Yeah, but it's your choice how you want to talk about it.
I put it down there in a book, and some of them have got it. I'm
okay, you had a low sperm count.
I was infertile. Yeah. I mean, I had an okay sperm count. I just my sperm were deformed. They were in a really bad way. So to explain, sorry. So the book is, I mean, the clue's in the subtitle, I suppose. It's about all of my journeys, and maybe I've poured a little bit too much into it, I don't know, but I just wanted to be really honest about the challenges I've faced and get angry as well about things I'm cross about, how we're poisoning ourselves, for example. And one of my biggest journeys that I've been on, and perhaps the most impossible, was to creating my own little life, having a child. And it was tricky, it was awful, it was upsetting, and at one point I was told, as I explain in the book, that it was going to be impossible for me. I mean, I was sitting down, I can remember it all, I was sitting there and I was told, you will not be able to have a child. And it came as such an epic shock to me. For such a pessimistic, negative person like me, I just thought, oh, of course I will. Everybody does. And I'd always wanted to as well. And it's the biggest mistake of my life, I think, that I put it off. And I shilly-shally, definitely on that more than anything. And then when I wanted to, when we actually got on with it as in the natural way, it was impossible. We couldn't create a little life. And so a chunk of the book is about that journey and the challenge and discovering that I was infertile and then being told you can't change this and then changing it. And eventually having the most special thing in my life, my little lad, which is the blessing of my existence, frankly. And I thank my stars for him more than anything. But it's that journey, and yes, it was awful, and it went on under the surface, and I didn't talk about it. I didn't even talk to my mates about it. I was such an
Why
idiot.
was that?
I think I'm a bloke, and I think I didn't realize at the time the value of talking about it. And I don't think I particularly had an ego about it. I just think I didn't recognize there was an importance and it was useful, really. And that was wrong. I should have done. I would have learned from other people I know now. And it was only really after I did the first volume of my memoirs. It's so ludicrous, but so my book, step by step, it really takes my life up to 2006, and definitely my personal life wouldn't warrant a whole book like that, but it's the journeys that do, it's the journeys that have been incredible. But in my first book, I was very open about the challenges I'd had when I was a teenager, particularly how far I bounced down into darkness, if you like. And I didn't just find that cathartic, I felt very humbled and moved by how people reacted to it, as I was saying before. And so when it came to talking about doing this book, to be honest, I had no hesitations about putting in the details of my sperm count into the book. I'm okay with it. Maybe it will help somebody. Maybe it will help someone to talk about it. That's an important thing for me to share. The only worry I had was how my son would react and whether it would be just too cringingly awful for him. But he's 10. I think I've got in there just before he becomes horrified by me. And I did ask him, and I did talk it through with him. And then I even read finally out what we were going to put in. And he's like, "Oh, it's really interesting. Carry on." So I think I've done all right.
You've just made that window.
Yes.
You're like Indiana Jones pulling his hat out before the boulder comes down.
I am nervous about that, though. But how he'll react and whether he'll get a whole load of grief as he gets older. But I really hope he won't. I hope we've moved on from that and we can be open and honest about it. Because, as I say, I'm angry because I feel that we're chemically poisoning ourselves. And I think a lot of my problem was living an unhealthy lifestyle and smoking the wrong things and drinking too much and so on and consuming too much plastic in different forms. And all the plastic we put into our lives and souls, and I talk about that in the book as well, and hopefully other people will get angry as well. Please. Oh, good.